Hey guys, what's going on? It's Dan, and I am here this week with our first week of the MGU All-Star League, which is a league that is designed around getting the top players from various leagues, league champions, or those nominated by league owners to come play in a single league. Normally these are showdown battles, but if both players agree that we can do it on cart instead, which is what we've agreed to do to make the video content better. This week I have a couple different plans, but I think my main one, and based on what I'm seeing from my opponent who is representing the Lord Helix Draft League, what I'm seeing from their team, my Trick Room mode looks really good. Swampert is potentially the main problem with it, but Swampert doesn't have a huge amount of output either. So I'm happy with this team that I've selected, and we'll see what he has, and we're gonna hop right into this battle. A couple things I will note as we're going through it. There's the white herb on the Glastrier, which is my best answer to this Luxray. Throw under Trick Room is potentially an issue for both of my sweepers this week, but it's not that huge, and I've put max Wormwind on both of them to reduce its damage output. And on top of that, Indeedee Slowking really just eats Throw alive. I have to say my opponent, top quality league badge, 10 out of 10, make this match much more intimidating right at the get-go. And we see him lead Luxray and Latios. Okay, so this is a lead where I know there's the potential for it to be the anti-Trick Room lead, because normally Specs Luxray will be able to, if he's got Helping Hand on Latios, that will be at least a roll to take out the Slowking, which is why I've got the Wakan Berry on it. So I should get Trick Room up here, and I don't think this Latios can really stop it super efficiently. So I'm just going to be able to have a pretty easy follow me Trick Room here. I have to follow me because Luxray could also carry something like Crunch, and if there's a double target, that's pretty bad. But the Snarl is what comes out instead, so that crit is a little annoying. That little bit of chip damage might matter later. And the special attack drops are going to reduce my output, and this light screen will do it more with this lead, but it's looking like it's a Glastrier game and not a Drampa game based on the way he's playing it right now, which I can get it in pretty free, or I could go for a double Expanding Force here, which is not going to do a lot, but it'll do in total it'll do enough to threaten to KO the Luxray next turn, even through another Snarl. But instead I decide, let's get the horse in and let the horse start doing horse things. If it eats a Snarl, it'll reveal White Herb without actually eating an Intimidate, which is unfortunate, but only so much you can do in that situation. Indeedee uses Follow Me, and Latios puts up a Reflect. So it's a dual screens Latios, not going to be very offensive at all. This Luxray is going to Snarl again. Indeedee avoids, which is actually not the avoid that I wanted. It will hit Glastrier and proc. So that just basically wastes my White Herb, which means he can cycle this Luxray for an Intimidate. But what I'm going to do here is just max Hailstorm the Latios slot, because I believe that with a Helping Hand, even through Reflect, should kill the Latios. And when he starts cycling Intimidate, I can stay ahead of it in the damage output. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the positioning here. Max Quake Luxray is also a consideration, but I do think that he is much more likely to cycle the Luxray out than he is the Latios, and I don't want to Quake into a Togekiss switch. And then Helping Hand here should just let me kill it through this screen. Luxray goes back, as expected. Swampert comes on out. And I will get a nice little max Hailstorm off. Big Glastrier, one of my favorite mods to use. Helping Hand hits, and no switches, no protects, no Ice Berry. This is a dead Latios. And then I will get my Chilling Nay boost, which will immediately go away when he switches the Luxray back in. Swampert takes some hail damage, Indeedee does as well. So the Swampert that I'm really curious about. Going into the match, I expected some kind of fighting type move to potentially hit the Glastrier. I also know it has access to Darkest Lariat, but I'm not really expecting it as much. I think Ice Punch is entirely reasonable on it. And I think Max Quake as well, and probably a Protect. That's the set I'm most expecting, although I know it could have access to a Dark type move. I'm not super expecting it this week, because he already deals with my Psychic lead very well outside of that, and I think he'd want more resources devoted to beating this Glastrier than he does to beating Indeedee Slowking. Because Snarl just handles them very efficiently. Snarl screens, like he's already devoting resources to that. So the Swampert is going to max, so I think my goal here is I'm going to try and kill everything around the Swampert over my last couple turns of Trick Room and turn it into a 1v all situation where I can just chip it down after Trick Room ends. Luxray goes away. I will get another boost. Luxray dies. Chilling Nay, and then we see his fourth Pokemon coming in after this max Wormwind. So Wormwind is interesting. That means it's carrying Outrage, which isn't going to be the most consistent option outside of max, but it will fight my Chilling Nay boost, which means it's never going to be efficient for me to attack into the Swampert. If I can kill what comes out next turn, I probably want to go for it, even though he could be baiting that. He's shown that he wants to use Wormwind in that situation. So I basically let him use Wormwind, and I will Quake into the Heatran. Assuming Shucka, I'm also going to Helping Hand. And he could Protect here, but Iron Defense Body Press Heatran looks really good, and this is my last turn of Trick Room, so if I don't attack into it and he Iron Defenses, I lose pretty hard right then. So he does Protect. So my Max Quake through Protect and Shucka is going to do a relative pittance at this point. Yeah, that's not looking great. But I've got a decent situation here if I can keep this Indeedee alive, but he does have max Darkness. He didn't go for it last turn, which is when I would have expected it, so that's interesting. This puts me in a weird situation where he's going to have the speed advantage the rest of the way, because there's no way, now that I know it has access to max Darkness, that I can get Trick Room up with the Slowking. I guess theoretically I could let him get a double KO by switching the Glastrier and Drampa in and trying to win late game with the Slowking, but that doesn't feel great. That Max Darkness really puts me behind here, so I'm pretty sure I lose this one. If I had protected that Indeedee, I don't actually know if I survive that, but it gives me a more viable path. So basically, the way he played was really good at concealing that information for this turn, but it also sets me up in really, really good position for games 2 and 3, because now I know what his whole Swampert set is just about, and I'll be able to effectively answer his Trick Room answers, because Swampert is his best Trick Room answer. So here, I basically have to... I've got a couple things I can do. One, I want to preserve some health on this Glastrier because Heatran might be able to take it out here. And I think... Well, no, Heatran doesn't take it out here. A double target would take it out, and if I can preserve this Glastrier, like if he decides that that's the priority and I can get up a Trick Room or a Scald onto the Heatran, then I'll still win this game. But if he targets into the Slowking slot with the Swampert, then I will be very hard-pressed to win this game. Theoretically, actually, a high horsepower there and a Scald, given his play here, which is Iron Defense. High horsepower probably wouldn't take out at that point, but it would come close. Yeah, there wasn't really an out for me there. I would have to have double targeted there, and probably gotten a crit of some kind. But I've been at minus special defense, so that Heatran also could have just taken me out that turn. So this will set me up poorly for the rest of this game, but it does give me good information going into game 2 and 3, which I'm very confident in using. I just want to get a couple of calcs information here. Like, I'm going to reveal that I have Energy Ball in this Drampa, but I also want to see what it does to the Swampert, because I have to determine if it's AV or not. Because AV Swampert can live, but non-AV Swampert, I don't believe lives the Energy Ball off this Drampa. And if I can figure that out, that'll give me good ideas about max targeting next game, because Drampa, in a lot of situations, is going to be the max target based on the way he's played. Body Press comes out, and it's good to know that that doesn't kill. But this Outrage comes out, and it goes into the Glastrier. I don't know if that was important or not, because there's a world where Drampa survives that, and then if I get that off and then I get a high horsepower onto this Heatran, it's not a great situation because they would both theoretically survive, although the Heatran might have gone down with the chip damage that it's taken. The Heatran is very borderline going down at this point, but without that I definitely lose this game. So good games for game 1, and I will swing right back around with game number 2. So, going into game 2, I'm feeling very confident. I think I can do the same lead again. There is a world where I go with the Moltres stuff because it looks pretty good next to Slurpuff and also next to Indeedee, because he can't really stop me from just getting up nasty plots, because he can't kill the Indeedee super consistently except for the Swampert. But I do think Drampa hitting the Swampert is going to be a really efficient option, and I think my slow mode is still going to be my best mode here, which is going to be Slowking Indeedee, then Glastrier Drampa in the back. So I'm feeling decently confident going into this game that I should be favored in games 2 and 3 based on now I know what his counterplay is to the max options. But we'll go ahead and dive on into the game once he gets locked in as well. I don't expect the Latios to come again. Togekiss could come as a switch into a Max Quake, since I've seemed to use those pretty aggressively into some parts of his team. The Throw might come is my thought this game, but I know that the Swampert is definitely coming and the Luxray is definitely coming. Beyond that, I'm pretty sure the Latios isn't, but the other 3 could come in any combination. Heatran's probably coming because it's the Body Press variant, and that's very good into what I have. But as we dive into the game, we see that Luxray Swampert is the lead here. So to me this screams follow me Trick Room and then adjust from there, but expanding forces seem decent. In fact, I'd love a double expanding force, but I don't want to just get got by a Swampert using a wide guard. Because a wide guard Swampert would be pretty bad. It's probably Assault Vest, but there's a chance that I had my calcs wrong and wide guard Swampert would just absolutely get me. So let's go ahead and see what I do. I set follow me, Trick Room comes on out, and I get Trick Room up. He doesn't really have a good way to stop it. I sort of expect the Darkest Lariat, but he goes for a discharge play, which makes me happy about the Lacan Vary. It's very minimal damage. I'm sort of expecting, I don't know exactly what I was expecting, but Darkest Lariat into Indeedee, and I survived that, which is good to know. So I do get Trick Room up, and I could just go for a double expanding force here, which doesn't seem like the worst thing in the world, and I almost click it. But the potential for wide guard really does scare me, even though that's probably a mistake, because I'm pretty certain that Swampert is AV, in retrospect, the more I'm looking at the damage calcs. But I can get Drampa in pretty freely there as well, and then get one expanding force off, which is still gonna hit really hard, which is about all I can ask for right now. So Indeedee swaps out, Drampa comes on in, and I could have gotten 2 expanding forces off there, which would have been very nice, because that would have just taken out the Luxray and done enough to the Swampert that it's not super threatening. But even here, it goes down to a lot of things from this Drampa in max. Drampa does get paralyzed, but I'm under Trick Room, so I'm not super put out about it. As long as I can get 2 of my 3 attacks off under max, I'm going to feel pretty confident in this game. So I'm going to start with a Wormwind into the Swampert. I'm kind of expecting the switch here, and I think Throw would make a lot of sense. So I am going to do that just to cover a potential Throw switch, but he switches in Togekiss on that side instead. And I am maxing Drampa. So my Drampa carries Ice Beam, which calcing it into some Togekiss sets. If he doesn't max, it's a one-shot. And if he maxes, I'm going to do a little over 50% with it, unless he's got the Ice Resist Berry. But this Wormwind coming out is going to just chunk the Swampert down, then I'll get a single target expanding force off. Expanding force comes on out. I mean, it's an easy kill range, so I just, depending on what comes out next, I likely Ice Beam into the Togekiss slot, and yeah, Ice Beam into the Togekiss slot, or Max Hailstorm, and then Scald the Heatran, and I'll lock up this game. So, the Max Hailstorm comes out, and the Scald will come on out into this Heatran slot. The Scald will likely not kill the Heatran, but Slowking going down in this position, still under Trick Room, is completely fine by me, because this will do about 80%. Waiting for him to lock in his turn. And he's maxing. I assume the Heatran is maxing, because then I'll be doing about 40% to it. He'll KO something, and then I'll have a little bit of something to maneuver around in the end game with Glastrier. But no, it is the Togekiss that's maxing, which is great, because I just kill it this turn, and I win this game. So Heatran protects, fine by me. Togekiss goes down this turn. Except it doesn't, because I get full parried. So this Togekiss gets at least one turn of max attacks off. It sends out a Starfall. Our Sucker throws into Drampa, but it goes into the Slowking, which will take it out. But I've got one more turn of Trick Room. I know he's got Shuckerberry, but if this Togekiss goes down next turn, Glastrier will still be in very good position. I could also theoretically send out Indeedee here, but it doesn't really make sense. I need to put out Glastrier, because then I can high horsepower into the Heatran slot, which either Heatran or Luxray, which will kill it. If he switches into Luxray, I go back to neutral, go up to +1, and then I probably kill the Heatran, maybe even through Shucka, but I'll be able to launch multiple attacks at it next turn, and Heatran can't one-shot this Glastrier. So I just need to Ice Move there and get my high horsepower off into that slot. Heatran switches out, exactly like I needed. Luxray, Intimidate will trigger. Luxray 100% goes down here. And this should be a double KO and put me into a 3v1, except Drampa's paralyzed again. Theoretically, a max or an Icicle Crash into the Togekiss in case of that may have worked for me, but then he can just KO the Glastrier before it can attack next turn, and Drampa's not going to be doing enough damage. So yeah, now Glastrier is in KO range from the Heatran as well, and I'm in some danger. Because 2 full paras really put me behind in this game, because I've let this Togekiss get off 2 free attacks and still be alive, when this endgame should just be Heatran, a full HP Glastrier, and a full HP Glastrier. So yeah, I'm struggling for what to do here. I think I need to let the Drampa go down, and then get out the Indeedee, hope that something misses, or that the Heatran goes before the Togekiss, and then KO the Heatran as Indeedee goes down, and then hopefully survive something from the Togekiss and KO it with an Icicle Crash. That's a lot of ifs that aren't feeling very likely, but it all starts with the Glastrier Protect here as my only out for this game. And as much as I want to call him going for something like an Iron Defense and trying to win that way, it just didn't feel smart. Like, I need to let Drampa go down, which he does oblige and kill the Drampa. And then maybe this Togekiss has single target attacks, but Heat Wave out of this Heatran's gonna give him at least a 90% chance to win next turn now. So now my out is Follow Me, Togekiss has a single target attack, and Heatran misses. Heatran goes down, and then Glastrier is able to survive a hit from the Togekiss and take it out. Again, a lot of ifs, but not entirely impossible. I can't really overstate how huge those para-hacks were this game. But it is part of the game, and you have to accept it and try to mitigate it. And he went for the Discharge, which has the good para chance, which is good prep on his part, as a potential way to mitigate how strong my team can be in Trick Room is to try and get some paras. So I don't, like, as much as it's frustrating that it's part of the, when it happens to you, you understand it's part of the game, and you have to figure out a way to play around it. But here, my out is, like I said, Follow Me, and then hope that Heatran misses Heat Wave onto Glastrier, that this picks up the KO at +1, that Togekiss only has a single target attack, and that Togekiss can't kill the Heatran next turn, or that Togekiss can't kill the Glastrier next turn. But Togekiss has a multi-target attack, it's Dazzling Gleam, and I have a 0% chance to win this. Heatran will pick up the last KO, and that'll be good games. Fun first set with the Lord Helix Draft League, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week for week 2 of the MGU.